Close your eyes and imagine a battlefield. There are no gunshots, no explosions, no tanks rolling in. It's the sound of warriors yelling, swords clashing, and the thunder of charging horses. Welcome to a world before modern warfare, a world where battles were fought face to face. Survival depended on strategy, strength, and pure courage. Before bullets and bombs, war was raw. It was personal, and it shaped civilizations. But how did entire nations wage war without guns or tanks? How did they attack, defend, and win? What strategies and tactics did they use to overcome their enemies? Welcome to the Forgotten Path, where we rediscover the lost knowledge of ancient times. Today, we uncover how people fought wars without guns or tanks, and how those wars were just as fierce, just as strategic, and maybe even more honorable than what we see today. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss an episode. Now, let's step back into the past. In ancient times, war was fought up close. When two armies met, there was no hiding. Warriors lined up in formations, shield to shield, ready to face death head-on. They used swords, spears, axes, and bows, weapons that required skill, not just power. Without tanks, people relied on the land itself. High ground was everything. Forests became traps. Rivers became barriers. Commanders studied terrain carefully, turning natural landscapes into powerful allies. Ambushes, flanking attacks, and surprise raids were common tactics. Victory didn't always go to the strongest, it went to the smartest. One of the earliest known military tactics was the phalanx, used by the ancient Greeks. Soldiers stood shoulder to shoulder, forming a wall of shields and spears. It was nearly impossible to break through unless you knew exactly how. Discipline and unity turned simple men into unstoppable forces. The Romans perfected military structure. They trained relentlessly, used formations like the testudo or tortoise, and built roads just to move their armies faster. Their legions conquered half the known world, all without a single gun. Horses played a massive role in ancient warfare. Cavalry units could break enemy lines with speed and force. The Mongols, for example, were master horsemen, used bows while riding, hit hard, and disappeared before the enemy could react. They didn't need tanks, they were the tanks. Siege warfare was another brutal method. Armies surrounded cities for weeks or months, cutting off food and water. They used catapults, battering rams, and towers to breach walls. These weren't machines of metal and oil. They were made of wood, rope, and human ingenuity. In ancient warfare, the mind was as sharp as the swords. Spies infiltrated enemy camps, gathering intelligence. Messengers raced ahead of armies, delivering orders and warnings. Leaders needed to be cunning, predicting moves and adapting to the unexpected. Strategies were formed over maps made of wax, parchment, and wood. Victory often went to the one who planned better, not just fought harder. War wasn't just physical. It was about breaking the other side's will to fight. Psychological warfare was real. Warriors painted their faces, beat drums, and shouted chants to terrify their enemies. Fear was a weapon, just like the sword. But amidst the chaos and carnage, there was honor. The samurai of Japan followed Bushido, a strict code of loyalty, discipline, and respect. In medieval Europe, knights swore oaths to protect the weak. Even in battle, rules existed. Loot was often forbidden. Prisoners were sometimes respected. Surrender meant safety. War was brutal, but it had a code. Now let's look at some ways that people waged war without modern weapons. Swords and shields. Swords and shields were the backbone of ancient warfare. They were simple, effective, and personal. A shield could deflect blows, protecting the warrior, while a sword allowed for quick, decisive strikes. Skills like swordplay were honed through years of practice, turning a blade into an extension of the warrior's will. This was war at its most primal, face to face, where skill and courage decided the outcome. Bows and arrows. Bows and arrows provided an edge in range and precision. Ancient archers trained for years to master this weapon, learning to draw the bowstring with perfect tension and release the arrow at the right moment. Arrows could pierce armor, disrupt formations, and strike from hidden positions. For those who mastered it, archery was more than a weapon. It was an art form. Phalanx formations. The phalanx was a wall of overlapping shields and spears, a tactic born out of necessity and perfected by discipline. Soldiers stood shoulder to shoulder, creating a formidable defensive unit. This formation emphasized unity and timing. To break through a phalanx, an attacker needed not only brute force, but a knowledge of its weaknesses. Strategy and coordination were as vital as the sharpness of any sword. Cavalry charges. Cavalry units on horseback were a game changer. They introduced mobility and shock value into warfare. From the Mongol hordes to Roman horsemen, mounted warriors could quickly traverse the battlefield, appearing where least expected. A well-timed cavalry charge could break enemy lines or provide crucial support. But this tactic demanded skilled riders and well-trained mounts. The bond between horse and rider became as critical as the weapons they wielded. Tactician and siegecraft. Not all battles were fought openly. Siegecraft involved laying siege to fortified positions, testing an enemy's resolve and resources. Builders constructed siege engines like catapults and battering rams to breach walls. Tacticity was key here, wearing down the enemy through strategy rather than open combat. It was a blend of engineering and endurance, a testament to human ingenuity under pressure. Psychological warfare. The minds of warriors were as much battlegrounds as the physical realm. Psychological warfare employed intimidation, trickery, and fear to unnerve the enemy. Painted faces, loud war cries, and staged displays of strength were all part of this tactic. Even the threat of harm to civilians was used to pressure opponents, demonstrating the dark side of ancient conflict. Ancient war was a dance of strategy, skill, and sheer grit. It was about facing your fears, testing your mettle against another man or the elements themselves. But it wasn't just about brute force. It was about knowing when to strike, where to stand, and even how to strike fear into your enemy's heart. It was a test of the human spirit, pushing warriors to the brink and forging their courage into legend. It was a time when war was close, personal, and raw. It was a time when men and women faced their fears and fought for their beliefs. It was a time when every wound was felt and every victory was earned. Today, we fight our wars from afar with drones and missiles. But in the past, war was a test of the human spirit. It was a test of physical strength, mental acuity, and emotional resilience. And as we look back at these ancient practices, we can't help but marvel at the courage and determination of those who came before us. If this glimpse into ancient warfare fascinated you, give this video a like, share it with a history lover, and subscribe to The Forgotten Path. Every week, we take you deeper into the past to rediscover the strength and wisdom we've left behind. Thank you for watching. Remember, not all wars were fought with bullets. Some were fought with bravery. Never forget the path.